So, welcome to Leadership Tea Talk with myself, Dr. Dangerfield. And today I have a special guest, someone that I have known pre pandemic and just watched her leadership and how she has grown her presence in her own brand. And so today we have Kersha Fortune, and I want to read her bio so you can know exactly who is in the space with us today. Kersha T. Fortune is a leadership development coach and consultant and the founder and CEO of Kersha Fortune Career Counseling Services, LLC. With over 15 years of experience, Kersha coaches emerging leaders to brand themselves in their organization by setting professional goals and identifying their core values, which are crucial to succeed in the first year. That is so true. Kersha is intentional about being an intentional leader. Her services include one to one coaching, goal setting, and leadership and management consulting. Kersha uses solution focused techniques to help her clients work through employment challenges in addition to assisting them with career transitions so they can thrive in their roles. Kersha holds a Master's of Arts degree in Industrial and Organizational Psychology with a concentration in Human Relations from Brooklyn College. Was it SUNY?
CUNY, it's part of Brooklyn
CUNY.
College. Yeah, it's
Okay.
part of it.
She is also a proud alumni of Clark Atlanta University. Kersha was born in Trinidad, one part of the twin island of Trinidad and Tobago, and immigrated at the age of 6 with her family to New York, where she eventually planted her roots. She is also a wife and a mother and enjoys spending time with family, dancing, baking, and participating in activities that make her laugh out loud. Welcome, Kersha.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Dr. Dangerfield.
Thank you for coming on. So, what I want to start out our conversation is tell us a little bit about your leadership journey. How did you get to this place of wanting to even develop emerging leaders?
Oh, well, let's see. So, my leadership journey, I'll say that began a long time ago, and I didn't
Mhm.
look at it as leadership because I never wanted to
Mhm.
be the leader in anything because I didn't want to be the one to tell on people. So,
Uh-huh.
when I was younger, but
Mhm.
I I would say I started that. I think probably the most memorable time was when I was a resident assistant in college, and I had
Okay.
residents. That was I started off in the summertime as opposed to like in the fall,
Mhm.
and I had it was over actually a young campers, and
Okay.
I was in charge to make sure that they were safe and they were coming in and out. And
Mhm.
then from there, it was my senior year of college at CAU, and I became a RA for freshmen and transfer students, but particularly
Okay.
a lot of freshmen. And that was when it was big, planning events for them, making sure they followed the rules.
Mhm.
Everybody that came as a freshman wanted to act wild, and we had to keep them in bounds and just
Mhm.
help them just transition through that first year of college, which is, I think, can be kind of tough for students.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you decide that you wanted to help emerging be as
Say it again. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
as a, what made you decide that you wanted to help emerging leaders, those that are in their first year of leadership?
Hmm. Well, for me, it was sorry, my phone is going off. I think for me, it was something that developed because working with business coaches like you and
Mhm.
Dr. Carey, it was trying to find that niche because I've always wanted to. I remember when I was a director, right? And a new director
Mhm.
would come on. And most of the time it was women because I worked in social services.
Okay. Yes.
Um I would just talk to them, kind of give them like the little nuances you need to know. Like for example, always have a jacket in your office because you never know
Mhm.
when we're gonna get called to a meeting at head office, or
Okay.
if and trying to explain the company culture is like if they tell us that the report is due X date, really they're really saying it needs to be in like 3 or 4 days before, and
Yes.
just talking to them.
Okay.
It's like, what does this mean? Because in your first year of leadership, so many things are going by you fast, and
Mhm.
depending on what time of year you come in, you know you could be coming in the middle of the fiscal year and the end of the fiscal year, and you're like,
Okay.
what is going on? What is happening? So it's just trying to figure out how you navigate that whole first year. And I feel like it's a big undertaking. It's not because if you've been a supervisor, you understand that you have to work with people, but when you go to that next level of leadership, like director and above, I find that
Mhm.
you just don't know what's going on, because now you're being interfaced with
Yeah.
higher leadership and their expectations,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
you're trying to manage your day to day and your staff and whatever it is. So I love it. I look at it as like babies, and then they
Yeah.
start growing, right? So it's just
Yeah.
taking it from the beginning, because I think once you have a solid foundation, you start to
Mhm.
move to that next level with more in you.
Yeah.
So
That and that is such a essential place because there's so many people that I know that are leaders and they did not have someone to walk alongside them their first year. They're like, oh, that first year of leadership was horrible. I didn't know whether I was coming and going. And I even remember from my own journey is like, how do you show up as a leader? How
yeah,
do you bring yourself into it by building your
yes,
own brand within an organization so that you
mm-hmm.
can kind of get your expertise out there so people can know
Hmm.
who you are and what you do. So, what do you share with other people about how they can kind of build that professional brand within an organization?
Oh, well, first you have to know who you are as a leader,
Hmm.
and that takes a lot of inner work to
Hmm.
figure out who
Yes.
you are,
Hmm.
because you know um you know to a certain extent what who you are, but you're going to be
Hmm.
tested on a different level now. So it's
Okay, it's
understand
so
what
true.
you right, what your values are, what you'll take on a job.
Hmm.
um Understanding that you have to set the boundaries, because sometimes as leaders, some will send you emails consistently at all hours, and if that is
Hmm.
not something you're about, you're going to have to learn how to stand firm, because you're trying to navigate by saying, I'll be flexible, but to what extent? How much
Yeah.
flexibility am I
Okay.
going to show, right, without
Hmm.
violating your own boundaries? I also talk
Yeah.
about core values, your beliefs. You got to know who you are, doing it
Hmm.
and being true to yourself, right, and
Okay.
standing up for yourself. I think I had to learn that. Like, I learned that hard after
Hmm.
my first big deal with leadership, because you're gonna have to use your voice. Sometimes it's using a voice for yourself, or using voice for the team that you coach, or
Hmm.
people that report to you, because sometimes, not all the time, I don't want to generalize,
Hmm.
upper management are not doing the field work. So there's a
Okay.
disconnect between what should be done or what can be realistic.
Hmm.
And you have to be able to also be the voice of your people.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
Setting expectations. I talk about
Mhm.
that. And that means setting expectations both for people that report to you and people that you report to.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. And yourself. I mean, be
Yeah.
realistic. That's
Mhm.
something I don't talk about enough, but being realistic with yourself. And like I talked about, the inner workings of knowing yourself, you also have to be aware of um, what can hinder you, what are your blind spots. And
Okay.
I think
Mhm.
that comes with time, though.
Yes.
That comes with time, but it's really knowing your blind spots and
Mhm.
knowing what you don't like. And I always give the example. I'm not a big fan of conflict. I do better now, but back then
Mhm.
I didn't like conflict, so I just wouldn't even deal with it.
Okay.
But that affected my leadership in many
Okay.
ways.
Mhm.
So you have to know what it is. And when I'm coaching people, I sometimes I have to get to that root to see what's going on.
Mhm.
What is it? Because it will show up as, well, I'm not going to meet with that person today, or no, I'm not going to talk about this issue right
Yeah.
now,
Okay.
or I'm not going to do this. And
Mhm.
why? And it's hard. It's really
Yeah.
hard, but it's doable.
Yes.
Leadership can be hard, but it's doable.
I like that. Leadership can be hard, but it's doable. I like
It's
that.
doable. It should be a t-shirt.
Yeah. You think about that. Think
But
about
it's the
that.
truth.
That is so true.
Yeah. So I think just learning who you are and being true to yourself. And that
Mhm.
goes back into the authenticity. And I know we're going to talk about that, but
Yeah.
being authentic to you really, really, and it's hard sometimes when you're in an organization to that already has their identity and what their people should be like.
Okay. Yeah.
And that might require more conversation, but you can show up
Mhm.
as yourself still. You just got to know what you want to be known for.
Yeah. Okay. And
Easier.
easier said than done. That is so true. And so that goes into the next question. That was a good segue because, like you said, knowing yourself, using your voice, and being able to show up in who you are. How do
Mhm.
you define authentic leadership?
So for me, I think authentic leadership could be, of course, being true to yourself, but it's also being true and consistent to the people that report to you as well,
Mhm.
right? So I take a servant leadership approach
Okay.
in a lot of things because
Mhm.
um, that's just that's one of the approaches that I take, and
Mhm.
it's more of you really have to know what you're about. You have to show up. You have to be consistent with the people. Be honest.
Mhm. Yeah.
Be transparent. And people think
Mhm.
being transparent means saying everything, but it
Yeah.
doesn't necessarily mean saying everything.
Mhm.
It's just being real in that moment. I say a lot of times, I just don't know. I don't.
Mhm.
But I can find out, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
just leave
Okay.
people that I don't know, but you can
Right.
just find out. So I think it's just a matter of what you call it, looking at yourself, knowing your team,
Mhm.
being consistent, honest with the people you report to, being honest people that report to you,
Yeah. Okay.
um, being transparent, being vulnerable. You don't have
Mm.
to be. I think at one time leadership was like being ice cold and you couldn't show any emotion.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. And
It's
that's
like,
what I was
don't let
told.
people see you sweat. Don't let them.
No, don't let them see you. If you make a mistake, you don't say
You
sorry. You
don't say
just keep
anything. Right.
moving.
You keep it moving.
You just keep it moving. And I think
Mhm.
the pandemic has humbled us down
Oh yeah.
with that, where we were saying, where it was, oh, I shouldn't do this and I shouldn't do that.
Mhm.
Um, it was also, I think, let me see, being vulnerable, transparent, showing, knowing your beliefs, knowing your values, just
Mhm.
showing up and being you. What else can I say? Just, I'll probably think of something by the time this ends, but
Yeah.
there are other things I believe,
Mhm.
but you can always Google it. But it's just no. I think the biggest thing, you got to know who you are.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a big believer in also showing in the spirit of collaboration with other people.
Okay. Mhm.
Don't silo yourself in an organization.
Mhm.
I think that's a big thing because especially when you're new to an organization, you're gonna hear chatter about what the person before you did.
Right. Okay.
um,
Mhm.
what is it that you might talk to your higher ups and they'll say, well, this is what we want done and don't do this and don't do that,
Mhm.
which is fine. I'm not saying to move out those parameters, but you might also hear chatter about specific people as well.
Yeah.
So I would say take it all in stride, but still form your own opinion
Mhm.
because you never
Yeah.
know. It could be so many reasons, right? So be mindful of that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I
That's
would say.
great. That's great. Those are some great nuggets. And if you had to share one thing with other leaders, what would be your one tea drop that you would like to share?
One,
Well,
I could say a lot.
okay.
To thine own self be true.
Okay. Yeah. That's a
Yeah,
good one.
because if you are true to yourself, you know what's right, you know what's wrong.
Hmm.
And like I said, leadership can be hard because you're going to get pressure from up and down.
Yes.
You kind of
Hmm.
sandwich in the middle, right?
Hmm.
Up and down. But to that, just be true to what it is, because your integrity gets pulled a lot of times. What are you willing to do? What are
Yeah.
you willing to do? And how much are you willing to do? And I think just be true to know. That's why you have to know what you're going to stand for and know your
Yeah.
beliefs and core values. Because once you know that, you can say, nope,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do that. Or
Yeah.
that is not acceptable behavior in my sight, you know?
Right. Hmm.
Um, yeah, you have to know. It's like, how much are you going to let slide before
Hmm.
you feel that, oh, something doesn't feel right, before that alarm starts going
Going
off
on.
just a little bit, not
Hmm.
even blaring, but just a little bit, to say, oh boy, so be true to yourself. Don't compromise your beliefs
Yeah.
for certain things. Don't. If it bothers you, then you need to figure out what's
Okay.
the next step.
Yeah. That's those. That's most definitely is great information because how many times have we seen leaders lose themselves and find themselves in situations that they didn't want to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, to thine own self be true by knowing your core values and what you
Mm-hmm.
believe in.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, my one last question is a simple question
Okay.
because we can't have leadership tea talk without talking about what is your favorite tea.
Oh, right now it's my hibiscus tea. Um, oh my goodness, that tea is so delicious. It is
Uh-huh.
hibiscus tea. Um, it's now, of course, now I can't even remember the name, but hibiscus tea
Hmm.
overall. I love hibiscus tea because I'm from the Caribbean. We drink something
Yeah.
around Christmas time called sorrow,
Hmm.
and it's made
Okay.
with hibiscus. It's a variation of hibiscus leaves, right? It tastes really,
Okay. Hmm.
but recently I fell in love with hibiscus tea, and of course the orange ginger tea. Mm, mm, mm. Delicious. So those I love. I'm not drinking it right now, but hibiscus tea is like really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I love it. Put some honey in there, you good to go.
Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that. So
Yeah.
tell us where people can find you and what any products or anything that you have
Oh,
out there available for people to be
yes.
able to purchase and support you.
Okay. So my website is kershafortune.com. But you can also find me on LinkedIn under my name, Kersha T. Fortune. You can also find me on Instagram at Kersha Career Consultant. I'm also on Facebook, Kersha Fortune Career Consultant Services. And I also have two products actually.
Mhm. Okay.
So last year, I co-authored a book called Everyday Struggle.
It's a
That
great book, y'all. I'm gonna tell
Yeah,
y'all now. Y'all need to purchase it.
yeah. If you purchase it from me, you'll get it autographed, but it is on Amazon. If you want it like today, you can order it from Amazon. And I co-authored, I lent my career expertise in here on how to get out of, or what you can do to get out of a toxic environment, or
Mhm.
if you are in a toxic work environment. And I'm speaking from my own experience in that. And I have a second product. It is a time management workbook, because I talk a lot about time
Yeah.
management. I do believe that
Hmm.
as a leader, I can speak again from personal experience. I felt like my to do list just kept growing and I never got it to
Hmm.
done. So I came up with a e workbook that you can download from my website right away, and it you can write in it, and you can I have some wonderful guided exercises you can
Okay.
go through, just so you can do it. One day will be print. It's just not 2 day, but it's a work in progress,
Hmm.
where you can go and download the e-workbook on time management. And I also do presentations for it to that accompany it as well. So that's where I can be found in some of the
Hmm.
products I have.
That is great. So go out, most definitely reach out, go to her website and purchase the book. and download the ebook, because time management, I think, is something that we all can have some pointers on, because as leaders we always end up getting, more, it seems like more tasks than the end of the day. So
Yes.
so being able to do that. Well, I want to thank you again, Kersha, for
Thank
coming
you, Dr.
on
Dangerfield.
and sharing your leadership tea.
Yes, no problem. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Nice seeing everyone.